We're live.
Good evening, everyone, and revolutionary greetings to one and all who's participating in this lecture session. So, comrades, I'm Shilpa, CEC member of SFI, and right now I'm talking from Ernakulam district of Kerala. So, as you all might be knowing, we all are gathered here as a part of the live sessions that we've been handling with for the past some days. So we've been dealing with many of the contemporary issues, and many renowned personalities have been talking to us. So the topic which we are going to discuss today is a very relevant topic in contemporary world, especially during this time of pandemic. So the topic is disability in a post-pandemic era. What changed and what remains the same? This topic will be led by Comrade Muralidharan, who is the General Secretary of National Platform for the Rights of the Disabled. So this organization is the organization of disabled people with membership-based affiliates in various states, and which takes up the issues for advocacy and policy intervention and fights for the disabled rights. So before we begin the session, I would like to welcome all the comrades into this lecture series. So Comrade Muralidharan is here. So Comrade, can you please talk about this organization and how this pandemic has affected the lives of the disabled, especially the students? So over to you, Comrade Muralidharan.
Thank you, SFI, for inviting me to give a lecture here on the issues for persons with disability, and especially the pandemic situation and the post-pandemic situation as well. I had been associated with SFI around 3 decades back, 32 years back to be exact, but now I'm post-retirement from SFI. There's one thing. Secondly, National Platform for Rights of Disabled, or we call it Rashtriya Viklang Adhikar Manch in Hindi, is a disabled persons organization working through affiliates in 14 states of the country at the moment. It's a membership-based organization, a mass organization of persons with disabilities, cross-disability organization, including all persons with disability. This is sort of an introduction. I will not go into too much of a detail into what our organization has been doing, etc., etc. That would be that we can deal with at a later stage or somewhere later period of time. Phone calls are coming in between. Hello. There has been some problem in the audio procedure. Okay.
Comrade, it's audible. You can continue.
Okay. See, I've been asked to talk about disability in a post-pandemic era. What has changed and what remains the same. What remains the same. It's actually too early to talk of the post-pandemic situation because the situation is still fluid and it is still developing. But as far as change is concerned, a Greek philosopher has said that everything changes except change. So there's nothing static excepting change. Everything is bound to change. So actually, this new situation that has come about, this pandemic that has come about, is going to change the entire world. It's not a question of disabled people alone. All of us acknowledge that a lot of changes are going to come about, and what is considered what was not considered normal yesterday has become the norm sort of today and may become the norm tomorrow. So there are various sort of changes that are going to come about. Various new opportunities are going to come. Various opportunities that existed prior to the pandemic are going to vanish. Various new opportunities are come. So various possibilities are there. Various changes are going to come about in this thing. But before I begin, I need to actually talk about a little about the statistics as far as disabled persons are concerned. It is estimated by WHO that around 15% of the world's population is disabled, across one sort of disability or the other. As far as India is concerned, our statistics, the 2011 census, takes the number of disabled persons at 2.21%. That means around 2.68 crore of the Indian population has got some sort of disability or other. We don't recognize these figures. We say that there has been undercounting, underestimation, undercounting of disabled persons during the 2011 census. This is one thing. Second thing that needs to be understood is when the census was conducted in 2011, the number of disabilities that were recognized by the 1995 Act, then prevailing 1990 Persons with Disability Act, was 7. So the conditions were also at that time very less. But the 2011 census, 2016, we had enacted a Rights of Persons with Disabilities Act. This act recognizes 21 disabling conditions, the 21 disabling conditions. So the number as will go up, it will be multiplied several times. So there is a huge population, and as I said, WHO estimates around 15% of the disabled population. Even if you go by conservative estimates, around 10% of the population of any country has some sort of a disability or the other. Second, we need to understand that disability is an evolving concept. What was considered as disabling yesterday, what was not considered as disabling yesterday is considered disabling today. Like for instance, various blood disorders, thalassemia, hemophilia, sickle cell disease, or even Parkinson's disease, for example, were not considered as disabling conditions earlier, but now it is recognized as a disabling condition. In the UK, for instance, people with diabetes or cancer also are considered as disabled. In our country, they are not recognized as disabled. So it is an evolving concept. So as time passes, as time progresses, the concept of disability, the understanding of disability also changes. So this is the one thing that we need to understand. As for coming to pandemic situation, the pandemic situation and the lockdown has actually adversely impacted persons' disabilities much more than the others. How we perceive things and make adaptations in lives, etc. is also there has been. So you see, earlier persons with disabilities and organizations working with persons with disabilities used to talk about the concept of work from home, flexible working hours, having court proceedings through video conference, etc., etc. These have become sort of norm now. Of course, it's not applicable for the entire disabled population or the entire general population also. But certain sections have benefited from this concept of work from home or video conferencing and flexible working hours, etc. So what was not accepted earlier has sort of become the norm in today's pandemic situation. It might become the norm tomorrow. It is moving towards that. But this change is only it is only benefiting a certain section of disabled people, a certain section of the general population also. It does not actually benefit the large number of disabled people who do not have access to internet, who do not have the benefit of work from home, etc., etc. So, but this is one thing. Second thing we need to understand is that we have been talking, when we talk about lockdown also, you see, the disabled have always been under lockdown. Many of them have been under lockdown because unfriendly houses, unfriendly terrain, unfriendly roads, unfriendly transport, unfriendly healthcare system, unfriendly education system, unfriendly entertainment system, etc. So most of them have been confined to their homes and under a lockdown situation. And especially this has been especially so as far as women with disabilities are concerned. They have been more confined to their home, etc. So we'll see in education also, while we say, even when we say the 2.21% of the disabled population has been pointed out by 2011 census, we don't find these many number of students either in schools or in colleges because they are confined to their homes. They are not able to reach those educational institutions. Even you see, in higher educational institutions, the earlier act provided for 3% reservation in higher educational institutions. The current act provides for 4% reservation in higher educational institutions. But most of this percentages are not being utilized. You will see that these you're not unable to find students to fill up these seats in schools and in colleges and universities. So even despite having reservations, because of the unfriendly terrain and various weather accessibility issues, students are not being able to reach schools or reach colleges, etc. This is one thing. Second thing we need to find is that when we say this lockdown has actually brought in a now, as far as education is concerned, I'll confine to 2-3 things actually. As far as education is concerned, now there is an advocacy for online education system, online examinations also. This is actually, though it might benefit a certain section, but we are saying that it will adversely impact disabled people more than other sections of the people. Actually, using the pandemic as an excuse, the central government and various state governments are actually promoting online education. This is actually part of the new education policy. We need to be aware of this, that online education, one, we need to understand that internet penetration in this country is around 39 to 40% only. So the vast mass of people, including the disabled and the marginalized sections, will be out of this education system itself. They will introduce it now, but it will come here to stay. Let us all be aware of that. This is a caution that all of us need to exercise, that when the government is introducing something now, it will be there to stay. We have all been, most of us have been through schools and colleges and this thing. This online education cannot be a replacement for what schools and colleges. The sort of education that is school teacher student exchanges, having this thing. But see, for disabled people are concerned, as I was like talking to a friend of mine this morning, I asked him about online education. The first thing he said that, you see, online education might, as a concept, may be good for many people, but for many disabled people who have not, school and colleges are the places which actually help them socialize. So that thing is actually, if this online thing starts, actually that thing will be, they will be actually denied of this thing. The Right to Education Act, the right of person with disability also talk about inclusive education. Inclusive education is, and all this online education will actually deprive disabled students from, they will actually push out disabled people from the education system itself. Apart from availability of devices, availability of computers, availability of internet connectivity also, there are several other issues also that disabled people face. So along with the devices, you need softwares, you need additional hardware. Will this be made available? There are additional costs that has to be borne for all those things. And if there are family of two, there are various other issues connected with the general students. I'm not going to it. So these then there is one thing. Another thing that we need to understand is that disabled are not a homogeneous group. The current act recognizes 21 conditions as disabling. Each disability has a specific issue, and each has a specific solution. Actually. So when we talk of disabled and when we talk of a solution to disabled people and the various needs, actually the solutions have to be separate. As the issues are separate, so are the solutions. So there can be no replacement for school or college education with online educations. So when in this pandemic situation also, when the concept of online exams are being advocated, one thing we need to understand is that various disabled people, like visually impaired people, people with cerebral palsy or locomotor disability is also a certain condition, they need scribes to write their examinations. These scribes will not be available in this situation. I'm saying qualified scribes. Any sort of scribe can be there, but qualified scribes who can actually write these examinations would not be available. So various disabled people will be deprived of qualified scribes if the examinations are promoted. And there are various other things that are associated with it. I'm not going to all those things. See, another thing that we need to understand in this situation, a lot of people are actually going to lose their jobs. Already, as far as employment situation is concerned, 65% of disabled people Even otherwise, the 2011 census said that 65% of disabled people do not have any employment. Among 35% also, only 1% is actually engaged in the formal sector, or organized sector. Rest of it is the unorganized sector. Many of them are doing odd jobs, vending on trains and things like that. So all these people who are there in the unorganized sector actually are out of the system now. They're totally unemployed now. Even the 1% that is there in the organized sector, many of them are actually facing the heat now. They are being terminated. We have always been saying the disabled are the last to be hired and the first to be fired. And this is actually happening. Various corporate houses are actually pushing out disabled people first. Various other industries and things like which had actually employed a certain amount of disabled person, they are all actually discarding disabled employees and throwing them out of employment. So in this post pandemic situation, when there is a lot of change that is going to happen, employment scenario also, there is going to be a lot of changes that are going to take place. So disabled people will not, the prospects for employment of disabled people that had actually seen a marginal increase over a period of time is actually going to get worsened. Now during this pandemic situation also, the Modi government has brought in various measures actually in the economic sphere. It has opened up the economy. It is privatizing various sectors, etc. Privatization actually, the one source of employment for disabled was organized sector was actually in the government sector. 3% reservation was there, 4% reservation was there for disabled in the government sector. Now privatization means no reservation. So the opportunities that are existing also are going to diminish or going to vanish. So thanks to the neoliberal policies of privatization, etc., etc. So post-COVID situation, there is going to be a shrink in employment opportunities for disabled persons. Even while work from home, etc., may become a norm, and they will provide an opportunity for certain sections of disabled, but at the same time, for the vast majority of disabled, they will be much more deprived of opportunities. This is one thing that we need to understand. But this situation also, in this situation, because of advocacy, a certain amount of flexibility was also offered by the government because of advocacy. See, though government employees had to report for duty, certain sections of government employees had to report for duty, disabled employees were given that exemption. So that change had actually come over. Disabled employees could opt out of joining duty, and they were granted special leave. Of course, for implementation, again, there was a big struggle in various government departments. We had to struggle to see that it's implemented, but still that option was there because of availability. This is something that is a change that has come about because of the pandemic situation, a recognition of the vulnerability of disabled employees, and giving them various options. Also, work from home was also an option that was given, and those who could not do it, they were given special this thing. But one thing we need to understand is that in this situation, especially with among students, among the unemployed, among the youth, there is a lot of trauma that is going on. The pandemic and the bombardment of news about the pandemic through various news channels, through newspapers, through social media, has created a lot of tension and trauma. Apart from loss of employment, apart from loss of livelihood, apart from turning people into beggars overnight because of the unplanned lockdown. So this situation has actually led to a lot of mental trauma and tension. So mental health, there was always a problem in country. This is actually worsened during this period. Lockdown is actually worsened during this period. Earlier, we had information about what had happened in Kashmir post-August 2019. Actually, Kashmir had witnessed a huge surge in mental health cases post-lockdown in 2019, when the state was dismembered to two and made into union territory, and it was a virtual lockdown. It still prevails now. Actually, that that situation had led to a huge surge in the number of people who had become mentally ill. This case is actually happening in the entire country now, actually, because of various factors. People are getting mentally ill. So this is leading to various issues. In Kerala, it is happening. In various other states, it's happening. Not limited to Kerala. In various other states, it's happening, and this is actually impacting students in the beginning. So apart from this pandemic, there is another pandemic that is going to happen, and are we ready to face that? The country is not ready to face that. We have always said that the treatment gap is actually huge as far as mental health is concerned. The NIMHANS Bengaluru had actually conducted a survey in 2018. The survey actually pointed out that the treatment gap is 83%. It's a huge gap. Now, we had earlier said it is 80%, but this survey actually pointed out that the treatment gap is around 83%. So we are a huge problem that is huge problem that is there before us, which we have to recognize this thing. So there are various issues with disabilities also. Mental health condition is one is recognized as a disabling condition by the 2016 Act. It was recognized by the 95 Act also. This is one thing. But the post-pandemic situation, various things are going to change actually. Education, as I said earlier, the new education policy that is being actually without being approved by Parliament, without any debate in Parliament, it is being actually sought to be implemented in this pandemic situation. When online education is there, it can become a norm unless we fight it out. As for disabled concern, it's much more actually adverse for them actually. So this is one thing. This has a change that is being coming about. Employment also, as I said that change is also going to come about. So various new situations this pandemic has posed. I'm not going to all the details, all the difficulties that disabled people have faced during this pandemic, or the issues that have come up before the pandemic. But 2-3 things that I wanted to highlight. One is with regard to education. One is with regard to employment. That is what concerns the youth and students more. And that the mental health pandemic also that is actually there before us. So with regard to health also, access to health in this pandemic also has been a huge problem. Even otherwise, health sector has never been accessible to persons with disabilities. As far as infrastructure is concerned, as far as equipment is concerned, various lab equipment, X-ray machines or scanners, etc., have never been accessible for persons with disabilities. But this COVID situation has actually worsened the situation. One is that non-COVID cases are not being attended to in the hospitals. There have been many deaths reported of pregnant women being turned away, various other people, cancer patients being turned away, etc., etc. This is one. Second thing is there is a genuine fear that when COVID is given priority and other things are not being given priority, there will be a shortage of beds and ventilators in hospitals. When as the cases increase and when there is a shortage of beds and ventilators in hospital, priority will be decided. Who will be deprioritized? The elderly and the disabled. They will be discriminated against. The able body and the young will be discriminated in favor of them. And so this has actually happened. I'm not trying to predict or make some this thing. This has happened in the US. This has happened in Italy also. So this situation is also going to be there. The healthcare system, much more needs to be done about the healthcare system. We need to talk more about the healthcare system in the coming days. And the government's move to privatize it. The government is actually moving in much speed to privatize it. This needs to be stopped, and more public investment in healthcare also needs to be brought about. This one. Second thing we need to understand is that in this pandemic situation also, access to information was not there for disabled people. Information in sign language, information in braille, information audio, etc. These are needed for certain categories of disabled people, which was not available during the pandemic. Even when we're talking about online education also, whether these would be made available to students with disability when they're pursuing online education. This is one question that we need to pose, and when, as student activists, when you're there, you need to fight about it also. But ILO, you see, in this pandemic situation, ILO had actually brought out a document assessing the situation and had made a recommendation. The ILO had said, all crisis brings opportunities, and the opportunity of the movement is to make inclusion of all previously marginalized groups, including persons with disabilities, a central element of all responses. This is what the ILO says. And second, if I come to Stephen Hawking, Hawking has said, like the past, the future is infinite, and the possibilities are also infinite. So even while we say there are tremendous possibilities that are there that can be utilized, learning from this pandemic, when the country and the world had faced a lockdown situation where many things were norm that the disabled were facing earlier. So this has brought a sort of sensitivity or sensitivity among various sections of policymakers, among the general public, as to what the disabled have been, what has the life of disabled people been throughout. So this actually poses, this actually gives us an opportunity which can be utilized in a post COVID situation, post pandemic situation. Thank you.
Yes, comrade. So we have a set of questions.
Yes.
So, comrade, after the lockdown, will the government be able to accept the fact that there is a scarcity in the education and healthcare facilities available for the rural people who are differently able from rural areas? So, and work on that. So, do you think that government will recognize?
See, statistics are always available. There is nothing new about it. 70% of the disabled population resides in the rural areas. This is a fact. This is identified by the 2011 census. See, but the problem is, even now, even when this pandemic situation, when you're talking about online education also, you're forgetting that 70% are there in the rural areas who don't have internet connectivity. Most of them do not have internet connectivity, don't have smartphones, even basic phones or feature phones also they don't have. So it, of course, it poses a challenge. It provides new opportunities, but unless the government is willing to invest more in infrastructure, in all sorts of infrastructure, it is not going to happen. Health sector also, there is huge public spending needs to be there in the health in the health infrastructure also. It is not happening actually.
So, comrade, you've talked about how the government policies, especially that of privatization and all, has affected the lives of the disabled people, especially when it comes to the education as well as their employment opportunities. Also, the Modi government has talked about empowering the disabled as Divyang, right? So, they are relating this disabled to religion and God. So, can we know your opinion about it?
See, there are various terms that are used to identify disabled people actually. But the term that the UN recognizes, the United Nations Convention of Rights of Persons with Disabilities recognizes is persons with disabilities. So I may not be comfortable with that term. I would say that we were comfortable with using the term disabled person, because from our understanding actually, we say that people are not disabled. It is society and the infrastructure that is disabling actually. That's our understanding. Anyhow, we're not too much of a differing opinion with what the UNCRPD or the UN recognizes as a person with disability is also a term, equally good term. But see, this term Divyang was actually brought in by Mr. Modi, who said that he's in his what is it, in his in his dream, he dreamt of something, and then he said, no, these people should be called Divyang. They have got some connection with God, etc., etc. That it is a derogatory term, and it looks at disability from a charity perspective. That here are people who are useless, who need charity. They're not talking in terms. This term does not confer you rights. It looks at you from an object of charity. So it is not a term that is acceptable. At the same time, when we're talking of disabled people, also there are various other terms also that are used, like specially able or differently able. These are also misnomers. There is nothing called special ability. There is nothing called different ability. You recognize them as equals. Recognize disabled persons as equal. That's the thing. No differently able, no specially able, no Divyangs.
Yes, comrade, that's a very relevant point that you have made. We should be recognizing everyone as equals. One question which I would like to ask you is, this lockdown period had been marked by the increase in the number of violence against women in many parts of our country. So we can just imagine the extent of issues faced by the disabled inside their homes too. So can you please talk about the basic aids that are available to them, that can be made available to them during this hard time?
Correct. You're talking in terms of aids, means aids and appliances, or you're talking about helplines or what?
It it is the
Both.
helpline that is available to them both. Like how
Okay.
can they manage themselves during this time of
Okay.
lockdown?
One thing that we need to recognize, as you pointed out, unable denial. You see, there was a case that had come up when we're talking about domestic violence and violence that women actually face, disabled women face. We've always been saying that we have always been contending that women with disability, the violence that women with disability face is actually much more, even in terms of percentage, actually more women, actually disabled women are much more to violence, much more to violence. And as it is in relation to sexual violence also. During this pandemic period, uh, cases of domestic violence, even in non-disabled women, have also increased. This is also with the case of disabled women. Also, the violence has seen a huge increase. Actually, this figures worldwide, figures in our country also. National Crime Records Bureau has come out with, not crime record, National Commission for Women has actually come out with figures and statistics about the crimes against. There have been helplines have been put up, but most of these helplines are actually have not been of much help to women actually. But then you talked about aids and appliances. In one case that had come to our light is that a woman's aids and up, she was using a crutches. A woman was using a crutch, so for a movement, the crutch was taken away from her. So though no violence in that sort, no, she was not beaten. There was no injury inflicted on her. There was no verbal abuse, etc. But the denial of an aid that she was using constituted a case of domestic violence. It's actually an offense that was committed on that. So the cases like that have also been happening. There are helplines that have been actually activated, and there are various other forums also. We also have been, our organizations have also been helping women with disabilities during this pandemic.
So, comrade, I think it's time to wind up the lecture section. So, last 30 minutes have been very informative for all of us. It's a topic which, as the responsible student community, we should be taking up in contemporary period. Especially, we have been dealing with these issues for many years, especially in Kerala itself, for the Charter of Rights. When we are presenting it to the government, one of the major issues pointed out would be that of the disabled student community. So, thank you so much for keeping
Thank you.
aside your valuable time for each
Thank
one
you.
of us.
Thank
So,
you.
I thank you on behalf of all the students all the people who are watching this live, and also on behalf of Students Federation of India. Thank you so much, comrade.
Thank you.